Welcome to the Power of Your Voice podcast with your host, Johnny Gorky. You have the power to overcome challenges and fears. Let my voice and the voice of many others show you how to transform these challenges into opportunities. To learn more about future podcasts and read episode show notes, check out my website at www.thepowerofyourvoice.com.
Hey guys, John here with the Power of Your Voice podcast. Welcome to episode 44. Now, with this COVID-19 now hitting 300,000 cases worldwide and 25,000 in the United States, what can we do? Now, today while driving to my local tire store, so I just had some tires put in my wife's car, and while I was driving to the store, I noticed there's this gun store that we have off this main road. And I noticed the line was wrapped around the building. But the truth is, buying a gun is not the answer to this coronavirus. So what is the answer? Well, we have other options. Now, to start off, I'll admit it. I had challenges in the beginning of this week. I have an 18-month-old daughter. She's at the house instead of daycare. And I've been supporting my second and fourth grade boys with their digital classes. So they're at home for probably next month or two. We don't really know what's going on. And I'm sure for all you guys out there listening to this who have children in school, you can relate. Our kids in our home. We're working at the house for some of us. And then at the same time, we're helping our kids with their schoolwork. Now, I've never done this homeschooling before. This is completely new. And the first 2 days, I'll be honest with you, I was kind of stressed out. I didn't know what to do because, hey, this is completely new for me. But the more I'm doing it, the more I've noticed it's becoming easier. And it's actually, I'm enjoying it a lot more now. I'm getting to spend a lot of time with my kids. And I definitely have gained so much more respect for the teachers through this entire experience. I know teachers have a very tough job, but I really didn't understand it until now because, the work that they do is truly amazing. Now, in regards to my job, my career as a recruiter, they're slow. Some companies, they're not doing interviews with people. So that's, I really don't know what to expect. So for the next couple of months, it might be slow. But at the moment, I'm supporting other people with their podcasts. I'm helping them create digital marketing content. I'm editing other people's podcast episodes, and I'm really enjoying that. Now, to clear my mind, I'm getting fresh air. So what I've been doing is I'm taking these long walks around my neighborhood. And I've noticed now, while taking my kids on these walks, sometimes what I'll do is the boys, they'll be walk with me, and then they'll come back in the house because, they're young, they get a little tired. So then what I'll do is I'll switch it out, and then I'll get our dog and take our dog Luna for a couple of walks around the neighborhood as well. But I've noticed now what I've been doing is as I'm walking, I see cars going by, and I'm waving to everybody, which is kind of cool. And guess what? They're waving back. And that's not something I've always done, so that's kind of cool, I think. And day after day, as I'm walking past the neighbors' houses, I see people in the yard sometimes, and I'll greet them. I'll say hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. And this is not something I've always done, so, I think this is pretty cool. Now, as many of us are practicing a social distance, things are a little bit different, but I think it's very important that we still get out and we keep our mental health and to keep ourselves connected with other people. But we can do that in a different way. So I challenge for anyone who's listening to this right now, pick up the phone. Call someone you have not spoken to for a while. You may be totally surprised at the conversations you may have with people. For example, I absolutely love my mother. We had a different and a challenging situation when I was a kid. So for a long time, I haven't really talked to my mom a lot because of, the things that she's put me through as a kid. But, I have forgiven her. I still absolutely love her. She's my mother. And last week, I gave her a call. And usually when I call my mother, I'll talk to her on the phone for about maybe 30 minutes. And I called her and we talked for over 2 hours, which was really amazing. And she told me she loved me, which is wonderful, because that's one of the big challenges I have when I call my mom. My mom, she grew up with parents who really never said that they love her. And, I'm sure some of you guys might be my mother would say, my mom, my dad, they said, I love you, but they never would say it to her. And it's been very challenging for my mother to say to my sisters and I that she loves us. And she's been doing that. So I'm really, really proud of her. And I'm happy. Now, some of the things that we get to do as well now, I think, read a book. There might be a book that you've been wanting to read for a while, but maybe you haven't had any time to do that. And now you get to have time. So pick up that book that you've been wanting to read. Pick up the phone. Do a FaceTime. Maybe in your backyard you've been wanting to start a garden. And now it's spring. Right now is the perfect time to grow the fresh vegetables that you've been wanting to grow in your garden, so do that. Maybe you've been wanting to watch a couple movies with your family, but you haven't been able to do that. Now's the perfect time to do it. Maybe you've been wanting to do some spring cleaning in the house, go through some old stuff that you haven't needed and maybe you wanted to donate. Now's the perfect time to do that as well. Or hey, maybe you've been wanting to start a podcast. Remember, a lot of people now, they're at their house. People want to listen to something positive, something that's going to uplift them, something that's going to inspire them. Right now is a great time to start a podcast or to start your own YouTube channel that you've been really wanting to start but you haven't done. Now is a great time to do that. And for example, today, it's been a weekend. We've had great weather here in Atlanta. So today, my family and I, we all visited a local park that we have here in Atlanta. It's called Stone Mountain. It's a beautiful park, really, really nice and big grassy fields that we have. And there was a section that we went to was closed off, and I was like, hey, what are we going to do? Well, they have a festival on this other side of the mountain at the park, and I told my wife, I was like, hey, let's go check out this other area. And with this big open field, my wife, she pulled out a blanket, she put out a book that she'd been wanting to read. My daughter, and then one of our older sons, he was playing with our daughter. And then my other son, who's 7 years old, we brought a kite. So I was flying the kite with him. Had an absolutely beautiful time, wonderful, really, really a lot of fun. And we had some wind, but the sky was absolutely beautiful, really good weather. It's probably like maybe 78 degrees. We also brought their bikes, so after we were playing around and flying the kite, and my wife finished her book. Well, she didn't read the whole book, but after she finished reading a couple pages, then we brought out the kids' bikes, and we had this nice open path that the boys were able to ride their bikes on, and they pushed my daughter around in a stroller, and probably walked around in the path for probably a good 3 miles. So we got some really good exercise, got some fresh air. And the beautiful thing is we had this all to ourselves. There wasn't really any other people there. So that was really, really nice. Now remember, as leaders, we get to remain calm. Now, no one wants to follow a leader who's in panic mode. And I know some people, they're panicking. So they need people who can remain calm. And that's something we get to do. So what we get to do is shift our way of being and to support others during this difficult time. I would absolutely love to hear what you guys are going through at the moment, how you're shifting, ways you are being, and what are things you've noticed now in the past week or so that has really changed your life. Well, whatever that might look like. Maybe you're spending more time with your family, having deeper conversations with your spouse, your children. Maybe you're starting a new business online. I don't know how that might be going, but I would absolutely love to hear how things have changed for you. Reach out to me at the Power of Your Voice Podcast. You can find me on Instagram on Voice Podcast. Absolutely would love to hear what's going on with you guys. Thank you so much for listening to the Power of Your Voice Podcast. I love you guys. Have a fantastic weekend, and I look forward to the next episode. Take care of yourself. Johnny here. Thank you for listening to the Power of Your Voice podcast. I would absolutely love to get your feedback on this episode and how it impacted you. Reach out to me on Instagram by sending a direct message to username Voice Podcast. If someone in your life could benefit from this episode, share it with them and check out thepowerofyourvoice.com to read blogs on each podcast episode and learn more about what was discussed. And please, leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. This lets me know you find this show valuable. And thank you for listening.